Well, this is a very strange kind of a morning. Let me just get my camera set up properly here. Just put my coffee down. I'm down here in the Fairywood, and there are some very strange things happening. There's been a massive amount of change down here. It's quite inexplicable, because the last time that I filmed down here was only just a week or so ago, when I was walking the land. This is the entrance to the Fairywood from the steps below the cottage. And the light has taken on this extraordinary sort of luminescence, and you can see this here just from the entrance. And I'm stood underneath the oak tree that my brother Hugh planted. So I'll just look up into the canopy of it. It's very high now. It's a beautiful tree. And you can see some of it now is spreading out. But I've just walked through the Fairywood from the other side, just below the polytunnel, and I'm going to take you back through, and you can see for yourself the change. So this is blackthorn here in front of me. And looking over there towards the ash tree, and back here on the path. The fairy thorn itself, as you know, those of you who have been with me on this journey these past 8-9 years since I've been recording it, the fairy thorn has put out lots and lots of seed over the past few years, and much of that seed has found a place to germinate, which of course before the Bealtaine project began was impossible, because there were grazing animals on the land, and grazing animals stop regeneration. So this very ancient tree, this fairy thorn, which has had many incarnations, and you can tell from the amount of stems growing from her, has finally, over the course of the time that the Bealtaine project has started, has finally found the chance to regenerate. And here you can see actually three little fairy thorns growing together. So that's 3 of her daughters coming up very closely together, which is quite extraordinary, because I'm seeing this not just here in the fairy wood, but all over the land. So the birds have been carrying the seeds all over the land, and in years to come this land is going to be just a mass of her daughters. Now there's the rain started. My own daughter has done quite a lot of cutting back because the fairy thorn itself is beginning to collapse. It's become very top heavy. In her eagerness to recreate herself, she has had an absolute richness of berries, of blossom and berries these past few years. But what has happened with this, I mean, it's almost worn her out. And I have to put my hood up here now because of the rain. It's almost worn her out. And you can see the amount of dead wood coming on her. But she's actually leaning over now onto some of the willow. So she's resting her weary bones on the willow. But I want to show you what's happened by the burial stone. I have to turn this camera down. Look. She's begun to pull away the roots, and the burial stone has become exposed. Now I'm going to just move up here into relative shelter just until this rain has passed. So I'll just come up here. There we go. This is a little bit more sheltered. So I'm just looking back the ways now towards her. The camera's got soaking wet. There's a rebirthing going on. And I say rebirthing because the fairy thorn has gone through many lifetimes. And this is, of course, within the same vicinity as the rebirth rowan tree. And it was because of the rowan tree that I discovered the fairy thorn and its history. Okay, there may be some raindrops falling on the lens, but I want to continue filming. So I'm just going to walk you over to where the rowan tree is. So this is now the back of the fairy thorn, and you can see where she's just beginning to make a very gentle descent down towards the earth. There's the most amazing amount of energy here at the moment. It's I feel a sense of almost holding my breath. You know, when you're in a very quiet room and there's something incredible happening, and you just find it difficult to resume like normal breathing. Well, that's very much how it feels here at the moment. I'll walk over towards the rowan tree and just remind you of what's happened with the rowan. And for those of you who are new to the channel, I'll just quickly tell you the story of the rowan. I'll recap. When I first came to Bealtaine Cottage, there was a massive rowan tree here which had just fallen over, and the inclination, of course, would be just to kind of cut it, you know, to saw it up and be done with it. But I left it because my own intuition just told me to leave it, to leave well alone. I mean, the rowan tree is one of the sacred Celtic trees anyway, so it just felt right to leave it. And from that point it started to regrow. And you can see, of course, the rowan tree today. So on the map of Bealtaine Cottage, which you can find a link for below this video, by the way, David Gascoigne, the artist who drew the map, referred to this as the rebirthed rowan tree. And it's very interesting now to look at this, because you can see the initial destruction of the falling of the tree, not the felling, but the falling of the tree. It pulled away the stone wall here. But now, you know, 15 years down the line, this has become quite an integral part of the garden itself. Quite an integral part of the fairy wood, and what is now, of course, a woodland sanctuary. Wow, all this herb Robert has just sprung up. So I'm just standing now, looking down into the fairy wood. And on that note, I'm going to say blessings. I've got a lot of meditating to do here, just to sort of understand, to intuit what's going on. I still feel quite breathless. I feel as though I can't breathe normally. I'm sort of holding my breath almost. It's a very strange feeling, very strange. Blessings to you all.